I am Jadon Se, Golden Dragon of the Third Arc of Consciousness, and this is a message from the Dragon. Today's message, reality. Dear ones, what is reality? There are many of you who base your sense of reality on what others believe, the consensus amongst society, so to speak, a consensus-based reality. And this is very natural and normal for any society member, for when they are born into a set of parents, a town, perhaps a school system, they are introduced to their peers, you might say, and their family members, their guides, their teachers. And the teachers so often will pass down a sense of reality, a sense of what is this world and what this little one will face, and all of this. And dear ones, these beings mean you well as they are trying to equip you with tools that will serve you throughout your life, throughout, let us say, the times of survival that are ahead of you, and not only survival, but they try to give wisdom and tips on how to live a life well lived, let us say. And so often what happens is each being starts to accept and agree with a consensus reality, you might say. Everyone knows that this is true. Everyone does this or that. Why should everyone do this or that? Because everyone is. It's what you do. It's what we all do. Some of this is beautiful. It is cultural. It is based on handed down experience from ancestors and society in general. And, dear ones, so often beings will appear who are sort of authority figures. They are the ones who are the holders of what is real for a given subject. You might have someone who has made their life's work, let us say, law. They are lawyers and judges, and they say, this is the reality of our legal system and law. There are philosophers, there are artists, and there are craftsmen, and there are teachers, of course, and cooks, and shop owners, and all of this, and each will subscribe to a certain paradigm of reality that fits in with their undertakings. And let us just say that those who go against the flow of consensus very often run up against friction. If you do not conform to what is being described as reality amongst your peers, you're often have yourself cut off at the kneecaps, so to speak, or maybe even your head chopped off if you say something that is a little too far outside of the box, so to speak. And this can be, let us say, habit forming. Those of you who do not like conflict or do not wish to rock the boat, so to speak, will very often just adopt the habit of agreeing with those around you who seem to have the same sort of mindset or worldview, so to speak. Groupthink is what we call this. It is very common to surround oneself with like-minded beings, and this can form into political opinions, and this can form into ideas of what is best, what is ideal in society. And so often, dear ones, a sense of self is left behind in all of this. It is more of a group mentality, a consensus reality, you might say. And because of this, there is a tendency to just go with the flow of what those around us are doing, and To some extent, dear ones, this is the easy path. It is you will experience less resistance along this sort of path, and many times it will provide just the basics that are needed for a good life. And so many do not question any of this, and it is always a choice whether or not to go with the flow, to feel into things or question why things are being done the way they are. And the implication in this questioning is there a better way to do these things? Is there some better method or approach? Dear ones, the most important, let us say, agreement you have with yourself is what you believe to be real. What is real? And if you firmly believe that something is real, then so many of your vibrational beingnesses, your activities, your attitudes, opinions will revolve around this core idea or ideal. And, dear ones, let us just start with what is reality? Let us look at the word itself, real, based on Latin and in so many languages. It is associated with the idea of royalty, kings and queens. Real, in your Latin means royal. It is let us say, the hierarchical way of seeing things. Reality comes from authorities. It comes from the king or the queen himself or herself, directly from the very top authority of the land, you might say. This is highly instructive, dear ones, as to the process many adopt for assuming what is real. We look to authority figures. We look to those who are in operation around us, in positions of high office, you might say, to find out the state of things. If you wish to find out what is happening in outer space, you look to your NASA or some organization that makes its entire purpose that of monitoring what happens in outer space. And if you wish to look at the state of health and health care and let us say medicine, you look to these medical associations and world associations of medicine and these authorities, dear ones. Dear ones, it is natural to give a little extra weight to those who make their living exploring certain disciplines and sciences, you might say, and endeavors. And it is wise, dear ones, to give extra weight to those who devote all of their time to knowing the current state of something. And it is okay to somewhat give their opinion, say, a little extra weight. They are in the know, so to speak. They have spent more time looking into this subject than perhaps you have, and it is easier to just defer to them or defer to your encyclopedia or some sort of repository of knowledge on a subject. And this is all wise to begin with, dear ones. However, it is unwise in the eyes of this dragon to put all of your eggs in that basket, so to speak, to abdicate your own sense of reality in favor of someone else's. This is especially important when it comes to big life decisions and whether or not a society is on track or could be improved in some way, let us say. Giving away one's opinions or ideas for what is ideal gives away your sovereignty, gives away your own heart and soul, your feelings, dear ones. For these are most often dry mental reasonings that are coming from these authority sources, quote unquote. Dear ones, if your sense of reality is simply given to you from others, then you are living a life based on the rules imposed upon you from external sources. And by virtue of this, you will inevitably separate yourself from any sense of divinity, from your inner heart's guidance, from your inner knowingness. Some might say your direct knowingness. Dear ones, this is how society drifts away from the heart and drifts away from intuition, feelings based understandings, and even compassion. Yes, dear ones, so many of the deeper feelings can be, let us say, put on hold by subscribing to ideas of reality that are given to you from others. Let us look carefully at what we think and feel, more importantly, is real. Are these just, as we said, programs that are running inside of us that were put there by others? Or are we constantly revising these and looking at them, dusting them off, so to speak, and updating them? If you think of this as some program running in a computer, are there software updates, so to speak? And perhaps you need to delete an entire program and install your own. And this is most advisable for each of you, each of us, to undergo self-diagnostics and self-review, let us say, self-questioning what is real for me. Not necessarily what do the white lab coat people say is real, or what does this telescope pointing out into the heavens say is real. These are all inputs into what you should consider for sure. And it is definitely wise and prudent to open yourself to new ideas at all times. And there is also, let us call it, an inner librarian or an inner system of guidance that you can use to file away what you have accepted, put the things that are questionable in the questionable pile, and put the rejected ideas either in the dust bin or in the rejected pile, let us say, or subject to future review, rejected for now, let us say. Dear ones, let us always feel into our hearts, our inner guidance. Does this new thought or idea, this new input, resonate with me? Does it activate some sort of familiar resonance or vibration within me? Does it ring true, you might say? And there is no coincidence that these words are paired together, ringing true. For what is ringing? Vibration. Vibration in harmony, vibration with resonance. Does this resonate? Dear ones, it is also quite all right for you to have a different concept for reality than nearly everyone else you know. Any of your scientific visionaries, philosophical, you might say, explorers of new ideas and new ways of doing things, each of them started out as an outcast, not fitting in with the rest of the group, let us say, not necessarily using consensus reality. The ones who have made the largest contributions to society are the ones who question what is accepted as normal or real. And those who question it, this questioning leads them to testing and explorations of their own. And very often these are the ones who make great discoveries for humanity, for the story of humanity, and greatly advance humanity, you might say. Therefore, these are ones to be not scoffed at and looked down upon. These are ones to be cherished and treasured. The ones who question, the ones who test out for themselves whether something rings true for them. So often their ideas and cues for understanding coming from nature itself, coming from the divine, from within, from meditations and deep understanding, sudden inspirations. You might call these epiphanies. And epiphanies are, let us say, gifts from our greater self, coming through our own inner beingness, and perhaps finding confirmation in the outer worlds, the outer realms, so to speak. And why are they called realms, dear ones? Look at the word realm. Do you not see real in there again? Royal, real, realm. A realm is an area of, let us say, a certain reality. It is a region where some house rules, so to speak, are in effect. What is real creates the realm, and it is what is accepted by those in this place, in this area, in this region of reality, you might say. Dear ones, when you change the rules, you change the realm. And this is what your Isaac Newton did. And you have this story of an apple falling on his head, and then he started questioning what made that apple fall from the tree. Why did it go in the direction of my head and not somewhere else? And one thing leads to another, and this line of questioning led to an entirely new discipline of physics, Newtonian ideas in physics. Dear ones, those ideas are some 300 years old, and they have been superseded, so to speak, with new ideas, or your string and quantum theories, and new ideas of the new physics. And even though this is the case, dear ones, your primary school systems are still teaching Newtonian physics as a foundation, let us say. And so they are using very antiquated ideas on reality. They are still installing these programs into young ones for their, not their consideration, but for their acceptance. And this is the where we really look at how it is do I install these ideas into myself. Are they put there? Am I indoctrinated into seeing things from a certain standpoint as real? Or have I let them in, invited these ideas in, accepted them? And do I reject some of those that are being installed by the systems of indoctrination, so to speak? Dear ones, it is very important on any spiritual awakening journey to look deeply at that which we believe is real, and to dust it off, pull it out, examine it, and decide whether or not we are going to keep this, or whether we are going to grow in a new direction, so to speak, or whether something new that has come to light may supersede what we thought was real. It is, let us say, not just a process of critical thinking, which is beautiful, dear ones. This is the alignment of the mind with truth. There is also the idea of inner resonance. Does this new idea resonate with me? Does this new concept for reality resonate deep within me? Is there a familiar resonance? Is there almost a remembrance, or a natural acceptance? For this just feels correct. It feels true. Dear ones, the right and the left hand are needed to play a guitar, and it is like this. Let your mind be the left-based, let us say, manipulating force of you, and let your heart and your inner guidance be the right hand, and let them together strum the strings to make something hopefully beautiful, something that resonates. This is instructive of how realities can be accepted or rejected, the notions of reality, let us say. Let us make this our new way of experiencing reality and testing reality and feeling into reality and bringing forth new creations, new realities. Dear ones, resonance is so important for this. Let us lovingly put the group thinking and the consensus reality, so to speak, where it belongs, in, let us say, social circles. This is where consensus reality belongs. For when we are speaking of something with other individuals, we must have a common language, a common baseline of understanding for any meaningful communications. And this is where these consensus realities can be tested and play out. And then also, dear ones, and importantly, let us have an inner reality. And it is not consensus based with our peers, those outside of ourselves. It is, let us say, intuitive. It is an inner sense of resonance. Let us say a pipeline to higher realms or divine realms or the realms of love and deeper feelings and understandings, deep wisdom, and yes, realization. Dear ones, once something is understood, this is simply a mental acceptance. It is part of you aligning with something. If you understand the concept of, say, London, England, a place in England, perhaps you have never been there before. However, you have seen these photographs and you have spoken with others who have traveled there, and so you have this understanding that there is a place called London, England, and you deem it to be real, for there is a consensus among others that this place exists. It is real to them, and you have reports to go by, and photographs, and movies filmed there, etc. Then let us understand that this is simply a mental construct of London, England. You do not truly experience London, England, until you actually put your feet on the ground there, smell it, feel it, listen to it, feel the vibrations of it moving through you, walk its streets and see its sights and speak to the people there. Only then do you realize, not simply understand, but realize London, England. So let us draw a very clear distinction between understanding and realizing. You have made it royal to yourself. And who is the king or queen of your existence? Your own heart, your own inner kings and queens, dear ones. It is not some hierarchy or patriarchy or matriarchy outside of you. It is your own heart. This is the sacred royal heart. Crown your heart, king and queen, and allow that the inner reality is your highest reality. These others are understandings. They are understandings that can be shared with others. The group consensus thing can happen with these understandings. However, it is reality that you feel and that resonates with you, dear ones. This is what is real, not what your second grade teacher said was real, not what your Dr. Michio Kaku or Neil deGrasse Tyson or someone like this says is real. It is for you to take that as a certain understanding that then you can weigh in your own beingness. Put the white lab coat on yourself, or better yet, throw it in the fireplace and just burn it. External authorities are only just, let us say, wearing the coat of their station. It may signify that they have done a lot of work on this subject, or research, or even experimentation, even hands-on. However, it is only an understanding from your standpoint until you actually do these experiments and work in these laboratories. So it is fine to listen to these quote unquote experts of their fields. And dear ones, it is wonderful to use street maps and road maps and encyclopedias to get your orientation of what the current understandings are for this subject. And this can be your starting point. It is not until you make it your own reality that you realize the truth or falsity of something for you. That is enough on reality for now. I am Jadon Se, Golden Dragon of the third arc of consciousness. This is a level of realization, and I am in love with your journey to realize your truth.